decide to employ technology in every aspect. If you decide to employ, even if, as I mentioned, even if you're a pure water seller, you are a charcoal seller, especially in the era in which we are, like with the pandemic, if you decide to employ technology in your work, it will greatly enhance your visibility and also disrupt how your business is run. And so at Mobile Web Ghana, as I mentioned, our main vision is to create a generation of technology change agents and leaders who would use their skills to solve problems. Like I mentioned, the heart of the organization is geared towards using tech to solve our local problems and creating a community of people who are interested in that. And we've, especially during the pandemic, we have realized the need to be able to hone the skills of different target audience to be able to fit into various forms of work, as well as various forms of industries. The pandemic has disrupted how learning is done. For almost a year, students were at home, and those who have never used devices before or computer to learn, they have been, especially the private schools, they've been forced to deploy technologies in classrooms to connect with their students at home. When it comes to work, it's the same thing. The pandemic has also disrupted how work is done across board. Gone were those days where if you're an employee and you want to work from home, it's like it's trouble. You will not be able to, you will not be allowed to work from home. But now, with the pandemic, people have been forced to work from home and learn how to work effectively and efficiently from home. And so one of the things, for us, the pandemic helped us to deploy most of our activities online. And one of the things we did is the African Digital Skills Conference in 2020, which is last year in November. And we were actually amazed about the number of people interested in various contents when it comes to digital skills. And we had almost about 1,000 people registering for the conference. I'm sure that we wouldn't be able to achieve this. Well, maybe we could, maybe not, who knows, if we were to deploy physical events with physical logistics. So STEM is critical in every aspect of life, and the need to hone STEM skills has even increased with the pandemic. As I mentioned, the African Digital Skills, we taught different skill sets, from data science to basic Word, Excel for your business, to actually doing to learning more about GIS, Geographic Information System, and different things. And it is now the way to go. If you are somebody who is working, you need to rethink about how work is done, integrating STEM into your work, every aspect. Even if you are a mom at home, you also need to rethink about how the home is managed, integrating STEM to make you more efficient. One of the programs we did which we are doing in collaboration with the American Corner, most of our activities is called Technology and Women Empowerment Program, TAWEB. And the focus is on work readiness, STEM, and women empowerment. And all these activities are have been organized online, and the attendance has been, and the contribution and engagement and has been very, very great. We've had, after the event, we sent evaluation forms around, and the results that we're delivering physically, if it were to be physical events, we are delivering the same results when we have the event online. What this is telling us that, look, a lot has been changed. Things are not normal. You cannot continue to do your things the same way you do them. And with the pandemic, we all know that initially we thought by the close of 2020, it will end. It hasn't, it's still ongoing. It means that we need to redefine, and it's even getting more serious than it used to be. So it means we have to redefine the way our work is done. So one of the projects we did, which is the Open Cities project, which we collected geospatial data using devices on the field to collect the data and then put the data online for government officials to access. We also integrated STEM. We also use STEM. We made it in a way. And you see, one thing about STEM is that you need to connect with the community. You see, sometimes STEM is seen as an isolation. It's seen as something who is tech, is this, is high level. But when you actually involve the community, you involve your target audience, you involve a lot of people. If it's work that you are trying to change their mindset about STEM, if it's students, they are trying to change their mindset about STEM. If you involve them from the beginning, it makes life more easier. And STEM can be deployed at different levels of work and in society. This is Visuals for Gender, where we are using data visualization to tell the story of gender-based violence across board, where we trained more than 700 girls, and we use data sets and visualizations to train them in their work. It's the same STEM that we are deploying, combining STEM and physical events to change mindset about gender-based violence and how these girls can overcome some of these challenges. And so STEM can be used in different fields, in different ways to really achieve the results that we want to achieve. Whatever we are doing, be it at work, be it in society, STEM has the power to be able to boost or to be able to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the work that we are doing. As I mentioned before, and as I said in my first slide, look, you cannot continue to do things in the old way, especially during this pandemic, that a lot has changed. Nurses are using Zoom, are connecting to going to conferences using Zoom. I had a doctor all through her life. She's been attending like update meetings like physically. Now she's using Zoom, and she's about 70 plus. People have been forced to use technology, and now they don't have any option than to actually do it. So it's a big opportunity. It presents a lot of opportunities to us to be able to use and teach and involve people to achieve the change that we want to achieve. Thank you. That's my introductory remarks. It's a bit long, but that's what I have to say about STEM at work and also in society.
Thank you very much, Florence. That was very insightful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think we have a few questions, but I'd like us to wait after Sarah's discussion, and then we can have a general discussion on the topic. So I think I'd like to invite Sarah to begin her remarks now.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I also have a presentation. I sort of borrowed a presentation from somewhere else, so some of it I will go through quickly because it's got a lot of astronomy stuff. I find it quite difficult to not talk for a long time when it's about astronomy, but I'll try not to. Okay, so let me, that one. Okay. Okay, can I, sorry. In my presentation, there's a short video. So, you know, there's an option in Zoom to optimize for video clip, but I think it's only available if you only allow one person to share at the same time. Did you hear what I said?
Yes. Okay. Okay.
You know,
I have that now.
okay, let me check. Ah, yes, yes, great. Thank you. Hello. Okay, good. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, so first of all, me, this was when I was younger and braver, and if I saw some familiar faces and names in the participants. So the people that know anything about astronomy, they'll know that it's full of acronyms. So sorry for all these acronyms, but these are some of the hats I have. So I'm the General Secretary of AFAS, which is African Astronomical Society. So that's kind of more of an organizational thing. I don't really do much astronomy type stuff. The next one is the National Astronomy Education Coordinator for Ghana, one of, for the OAE, which is the Office for Astronomy Education, which is under the IAU, which is the International Astronomical Union. So that's all about trying to improve astronomy teaching in Ghana and trying to get more astronomy into the curriculum and that kind of thing. As I said, most people know me for the Ghana Planetarium, where I've been a volunteer for more than 10 years. And I think my title is Weekend and Special Events Coordinator there. I'm also a member of a team called PRAGSAC, really horrible acronym, PRAGSAC, I hate that. But anyway, it's basically about promoting radio astronomy through school astronomy clubs. And I've also been a member of PASIA, which is the Pan-African School for Emerging Astronomers. It used to be called WAISIA, West African International Summer School for Young Astronomers. Basically, they do like a week-long summer school for undergraduates and postgrads to get people interested and excited about astronomy to help them in their further studies. And just in case you're wondering, because of the way I look and the way I sound, I'm a dual national British Ghanaian. My mum is Ghanaian. My dad was British. So that's me. Oh, sorry, this is just very quickly, just to explain the OAE. So the IAU is the International Astronomical Union, and now it has these 4 different offices. The OAD, which also is mentioned later, is the Office for Astronomy for Development, and the OAE is the Office of Astronomy for Education. So why am I excited about astronomy? For me, it's because it attempts to answer these amazing questions. How big is the universe? How did it begin? Is there life elsewhere? All those crazy things that people are excited about. But also, when you kind of come down a bit, it actually helps to give us perspective. You know, this is the classic picture on the right there of the Earth rise, seeing the Earth rise from the moon. This picture looking back at the Earth can really help us understand the fragility of the Earth and the fact that we're all interconnected. So it's great for introducing the whole idea of environmentalism, because you can see, when you look at the Earth, you can see, wow, look at all the ocean currents here affecting this continent there, and so on. So it makes it a lot more obvious. It's often people call it a gateway science because a lot of kids are just automatically interested in astronomy. So you can use it to get them excited about STEM. And then for me, I know it's crazy. I just think it's really awesome. For me, it's the extremes when you learn about astronomy, you learn about these incredible distances. I mean, you cannot get your mind around it. And the extremes of temperatures, you know, the temperatures inside a star, millions of degrees, and these weird things like, you know, these things like neutron stars that are zipping around literally thousands of times a second. I mean, it's full of just incredible stuff. So for me, it just kind of blows your mind. It broadens your mind. It makes your mind kind of go, wow, you know, there's so much more than we thought. And so in Ghana, I think I like what Florence said about bringing the STEM, you know, making it practical, making it to do with people's lives. That's exactly right. And I have to be honest, when I first came from England, I found that quite difficult, because I would say, no, astronomy is fantastic. Everyone should just love it for the sake of it. But you actually really have to sell it. You have to sell it and show why it's useful, why it's of benefit. So I would say here, again, still the appreciating your place in the universe. I think everyone should have an understanding the fact that we're on this tiny planet in the middle of a massive galaxy, which is one of billions of galaxies and so on. I think that's a very important perspective to have. You can use astronomy to encourage, you know, curiosity and creativity, and do all sorts of hands-on science, and encourage, you know, more students into STEM subjects. And we can use it to empower our teachers, because they deserve it, and they need it. And in case people think, oh, astronomy, it's kind of a bit of a funny niche subject, why should we be interested, and what, you know, how can it be useful to us? This is a fantastic graphic from the International Astronomical Union showing how astronomy is linked to almost everything, you know, so many different technologies, optics, big data, machine learning, electronics, physics, chemistry, biology, and so on. I mean, if I'm talking to kids, I often say, whichever part of science you like, maths, physics, computing, chemistry, biology, you can do that science and also do astronomy, because astronomy is part of almost everything. So I think that's an important thing to get across to people. In Ghana, you might think, oh, well, there's not really much astronomy, no undergraduate astronomy courses, very little astronomy in the curriculum, no science centres, the Science Museum, sorry, very poorly equipped, have to say it. And really, you don't see much science journalism. You see very little astronomy news, or even science news in general. However, the good news is I would say we have these three main areas. We have of course, we have the planetarium, we have the Ghana Radio Astronomy Observatory, and sorry, I forgot the label, that's the All Nations University. And also the map is wrong, sorry about that. But, you know. I don't really know much about these guys, except that I'm sure we all know that they developed that first satellite. And actually today and yesterday is the Space Generations Advisory Council workshop, all about space technologies and space industries and so on in Africa. And I listened to some of it yesterday, and I have to say, when you think about what can be done with space science and satellite technologies, to me, it is a complete no-brainer that we should be getting into this. I mean, I don't understand why the government is not falling over itself to get more satellites and train all these people up, because the things you can do, you know, monitoring galamsey, monitoring coastal erosion, monitoring natural disasters, monitoring land use. I mean, it's incredible. It's really incredible. So, and that's not even what I'm into, but it's very useful. But we have this observatory at Kuntunsi. I don't know if everyone is aware of it. Oh, look, while I'm talking, I'll play the little video. So this was an old telecommunications dish, which has now been repurposed to be a radio astronomy observatory, which I think is incredibly cool, incredibly cool. So it can work on its own and do, you know, observations on its own, but eventually it's going to be part of a network of other radio telescopes across Africa. So the AVN, African VLBI network. And actually an interesting thing about the Ghana Observatory is that because we're almost on the equator, we have a very good view of both the northern and the southern sky. You know, if you're very far north, you can't see all the stars in the southern sky. If you're very far south, you can't see everything in the northern sky. But where we are, it's a very valuable position. So it's a really good place to have an observatory. It's also linked to, God, more acronyms, SKA, Square Kilometre Array, which will be the largest telescope in the world, and probably the largest science project in the world. Massive, massive, massive radio astronomy thing. So it's basically really cool that we're a partner country to that. Now, within the observatory's remit, they do some, the schools can go and visit, and also there's this project which I'm part of, PRAGSAC. So briefly about that. So there is a human capacity development program organized by DARA, which is Development in Africa with Radio Astronomy. Evans can tell you all about that. So a group of us from that program got together and won a bit of funding to set up astronomy clubs in schools. So we thought that would be a good way to bring astronomy into the schools, to get the kids excited, and again, hopefully promote more, you know, hands-on learning, creative science, and getting more kids into STEM subjects. So we actually started at the schools around the observatory, because we know they can actually see the observatory out of their window, but they don't actually know what it is. So we formed clubs in 7 schools. We went and did sessions. I mean, we started with basics, sun and moon and solar system, and we tried to make everything practical with props and hands-on activities and things. One very important thing we did is we trained the teachers. We did a workshop for the teachers. In fact, we got funding for a second workshop as well. And that was great. The teachers, I have to say, were great, very enthusiastic, very committed, really eager to learn more, because of course their knowledge of astronomy is quite low. So that was very valuable, very fulfilling. Some of them got a visit to the observatory, which they loved. And we had a few other special sessions, like for Women and Girls in Astronomy Day, we brought in female scientists to talk to the girls. They did this, I don't know if anyone knows about the Eratosthenes Experiment, where you can calculate the circumference of the Earth just by measuring shadows and doing a little bit of maths. It's very cool. So we did some special sessions like that. So now what we're doing is some online astronomy lessons. So last year we won funding from the OAD, Office of Astronomy for Development, to create some video lessons on astronomy and space science and Python programming. So we launched that last year, and now we have the first 5 lessons are up on the PRAGSAC YouTube channel, so please spread the word. And we also have a whole load of messages of support from friends and supporters across the world. And actually, even those messages are very interesting. Some of them don't really mention us, but they just talk about how astronomy is useful and interesting and so on. So please go and have a look at those videos and spread the word. And then the planetarium, again, in case people don't know, it was built by these 2 people, Dr. Ashong and his wife. And it is practically unheard of for anyone to build their own planetarium, but they did. And, the aim is to, again, promote STEM and inspire people with the wonders of the universe. That's just so you know what it looks like if you haven't been there. And we do a whole variety of things, or we did, obviously, before COVID. The main thing is the school visits and the planetarium shows. The kids can have science demos. We do teachers' workshops. We also set up school astronomy clubs, and then weekend events. We have telescope viewing and children's activities, guest speakers, and even birthday parties. And we've even had a wedding at the planetarium. Oh yes, and around 40,000 visitors. Okay, I'll just briefly. So yes, so these are some of the school visits. They don't just come for the show. They have discussion and Q&A. They go off and read the posters and have to come back and answer questions and so on. They get the science demos, which they love. Again, I'm sure everyone here knows that, science in schools is a big issue. So for them to come and see just simple experiments that they can do themselves, they really enjoy it. And then I'm mainly involved with the weekend events. All sorts of different activities for families and kids mainly, arts and crafts, and again there's Eratosthenes again, or science experiments, again arts, maths, Pi Day. We do activities for Pi Days to get kids into the maths. Does anyone know who this guy is? You can put it in the chat, or someone can tell me, or unmute. Is everyone still there?
Yeah, yeah, I know him.
Okay.
But his name is right up there, Dr.
Well, you might, yeah, but you might have thought it was someone else. Yeah,
oh, sorry.
So this guy.
So I won't say more.
Okay, so he's a Ghanaian. He works at NASA. He works at NASA JPL, and he's been involved in most of the rovers that have gone to Mars. He works on robotic arms. He didn't do the current one, but most of the others. And he came to Ghana and spoke in the planetarium. And I don't know if you know, but basically this is the planetarium, literally 95% full. I mean, the space was full of chairs and people because we had so many. But this guy, Luther Beagle, he also came to Ghana, but he is working on the Perseverance rover. He was on one of the press conferences. So teacher training workshops we do. This is just, okay. Sometimes we have music events. This was just a funny story. I asked if anyone was interested in music and astronomy. Some guy sent me an email and said, oh yes, I'm a musician. I can come and do a gig. And I thought, I don't even know who this guy is. He could be, just like a nobody. So I looked him up and I found all these incredible reviews. Oh, Jecheku. Oh, he's quite well known, is he? And there he is. So he came along, and I don't know if you know him. He's fantastic. He's really fantastic. So he's also done some events for us, and he's really popular. So when he plays, and everybody comes, and he loves astronomy as well. So it's very cool. Telescope viewing. We've been lucky enough to have some pretty good telescopes donated. So people get very excited when they can come, even though it's Accra. The light pollution is terrible. You can see the moon, looks fantastic. You can see Jupiter. You can see some of the moons of Jupiter. You can see the rings of Saturn. So that's always very exciting. And daytime viewing. So this was, when was this? Was this 2019, I think? Transit of Mercury. So this is when you can see the planet Mercury move across in front of the sun. It's probably not very, I can't even see it on my, even I can't even see it. I think it's a little dot there. So we went off to Osu Presby and showed all the kids, and they got very excited. So that was great. And, we've had a few partial eclipses as well, which have been quite big events at the planetarium, getting everyone very excited. And, it's a great opportunity to then try and educate people, about the Earth, the sun, the moon, all sorts of things. So that's always good. Oh, there's another one. So just more. Okay, so we also have an Astronomy Club project where we won funding from the IAU, set up astronomy clubs. We created a booklet for the kids and for the teachers. With this one, we actually did quite a few more sort of practical activities. I don't know if you know this mystery tube activity where they have to. It's a great way to explore the scientific method. So they have this mystery tube. They have to work out how the strings are connected to get them to move in the way they do. Then they have to try it out themselves. They create their hypothesis of how they think the strings are connected, and then they have to do it themselves. Or you do this like the egg drop lander. Can you make a craft that's gonna, when you drop it, an egg in it, that hopefully it won't break. So brainstorming, discussion, building, and so on. And then again, we also did some online sessions. So last year we did sessions for kids and then for adults. And then this year we've signed up for this NASA's Mission to Mars Student Challenge, which is a special kind of 5-week program, learning all about the Perseverance rover. And while you're doing that, you do all different things. You know, learn about Mars, you learn about the spacecraft, design your spacecraft. So you go through all these different activities, learning different skills. So that's actually been quite popular. You have about 20 or so kids come and join us most Saturdays. So that's good. Okay. So rush through that. So why volunteer? I'm sure you could all come up with lots of good ideas. I mean, there's people do it for all different reasons. You know, it can be simply, I want to help out. I want to give back to the community, or maybe back to a particular organization that's helped me. It can help develop new skills depending on what you're doing. Or it can help build up your experience in certain areas. Hopefully it will help you gain, you know, some confidence and self-esteem. You're helping out, you're fulfilling, getting more fulfilled and so on. And it can also just be a break. You know, if you've got a stressful job, stressful studying, or no job or no studying, that can still be stressful. This is doing something different, you know, getting you out of yourself. It can be a very good break. You might meet new people and new friends. And of course, it may also enhance your CV. I'm sort of hesitating on that one for a particular reason. Now, Gamali said, I'm going to blame Gamali. He said I should have top tips for volunteering. So I don't really have top tips, but these are just 3 things I thought of, and they're probably a bit obvious. But number 1, it probably sounds really obvious. Please only volunteer because you actually want to. So please don't volunteer because you want to enhance your CV, or because you think, oh, if I go to that place, the guy might give me a nice reference or whatever. Because if we want volunteers, it's because we need volunteers, and we need people who are actually going to, you know, turn up and be present, and they're not there for an ulterior motive. You need to be prepared to do the work that's needed. You might have an idea of, oh, I want to go to this place because then I can learn how to do A, B, and C. But actually, when you go there, they say, no, we need you to do this, this, and this. So you might come to the planetarium because you want to learn how to work the telescope, but actually we'll say, well, no, we need you to help with the kids and clear up all the mess that they make afterwards, because that's actually what's needed. And the third most important thing is, if you're going to volunteer, you need to be committed, because even though you're a volunteer and you're not being paid, but obviously, hopefully you should get your expenses, you need to still commit as though you were being paid. Because again, if we need volunteers, we need them. So if I've got 6 people who said, oh, we're coming on Saturday, and I say, great, that's because we need 6, we're doing 6 different activities. And then on Saturday you think, oh, I'm tired, I can't be bothered. Or 3 of you do that. Then now we can't do 6 activities. We can only do 3 activities, and that's thrown our whole event out. So it's important that you are committed, even though you're not being paid. And you can commit at whatever level. So if you can only come once a month, that's fine. But if you say you're going to come, then you need to come. So those will be my top tips. Oh, there we go. So that's it, really. And there's just some links there. Is that okay? Was I talking too fast? I know I talk a bit fast.
Not at all. It was okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarah. I think we should, how do you call this? Do this for Sarah.
That's a weird Ghanaian thing.
Yeah. For Sarah and Florence, thank you so much for sharing all you have shared with us. And I'm sure many of us have a lot of questions to ask you and Florence. So, I mean, the floor is open for questions. So anybody who has questions can.
Can I go?
Okay, sure.
Yes, please. My question is to Florence. In her submission, she made mention of the fact that when they had the online conversion of the conference that they used to have in person, when they did assess the whole data available to them after the conference, they had the exact same impact as they used to when they had the conference in person. So I just wanted to know what were the KPIs she used in indicating or measuring the performance or the output of the conference.
Okay, so there were two different events I mentioned. The African Digital Skills event, which was online and had over 1,000 registered attendees, and then we had the TAWEP programs, which happens like 3 programs every week. And so for the African Digital Skills event, we had almost about 700 active participants. So number one, with the KPIs, how many people registered, from which country, which sessions did they attend, and after that, how many people we sent evaluation forms around, what did the people say, what was their experience after the event. So those are some of the key performance index or things we used. But for us, it's especially for the African Digital Skills event, we are like, look, this has leveled our costs when it comes. So initially we wanted to go and do it at City House, which is big, and the cost was like, you can imagine when you host conferences and then the bill, you don't even know if you get sponsorship or support to cover the cost. But this, even though it's online, it was still a lot more work. We virtually have to send messages, text messages to all the registered attendees, ensure that the event is on their mind and they are coming. And, for some people, they just, especially if it's online, some people just register for events and they forget that they've registered for the event. They're so much interested in the event, they register, but they forgot that, hey, I registered for this event and it's happening, especially when it's online, it's happening like in next week or next 2 weeks. So we had to put in measures to constantly send reminders, constantly send updates to people who have registered. So those were some of the things that we did. For the TAWEB project, which is sponsored by the US Embassy, that project or the activities of that project happens 3 times a week. So we have the STEM program happening, we have the Women Empowerment Leadership program happening also every week. And then we have the Get Ready for Work series, which involve how do people get a job, or how do you get a job, what do you do, what are some of the things that you need to do when you get a job, or even when you are doing job search, what do you need to do? And we've had amazing people who attend this event almost every week. And of course, so some of the things that we do is to always send evaluation form, keep the people up to date. When is the next event? When is it happening? Make sure people are constantly registering. But because trust me, when you have an online event, it's more tedious. But because people register, you can have 10,000 people registering for the event, but only about few hundred people will show up. And so, especially for me, I get excited when people register online, but I don't get excited when they register, when I see numbers. The numbers don't necessarily translate into attendance on the D-Day. So it's what that means is a lot more work has to go into it to ensure that you equally achieve the same success that you want to achieve if the event was to happen physically. I don't know if I answered your question, but hopefully I hope these things that I've mentioned would help you. It's equally a lot more work as it is. The only thing is that your infrastructure cost, or now your overhead costs, a bit leveled, but still a lot more human resource costs that you need to do.
Thank you. You've done justice to the question. Thank you.
Yeah, Flo. Sorry. My input is related to Evans's, so let me take the opportunity. Okay, I was going to say that normally when you are doing events, you realize that, let's say, half of the people who registered for the event don't show up, and then maybe about a third or so who didn't register show up. So you have like 2/3 of registered people attending. But it looks like when you bring that to the online world or the online events, you only get about a third of registered people showing up for events. So I mean, it may be something which is not very accurate, but that's something to start working with when you're organizing things online, to imagine. And then my second question is, my real question is, I want to know about, like, just in general, in terms of like the technology or the software that you used to run the conference that you did, the Digital Skills Conference.
Okay, so there were two. We partnered with Ambitious Africa, and we used Deal Room for the events. And for us, Deal Room was really cool. Was really, really cool. It has the schedules. It has the speakers. It has they had a rehearsal room. It had a place that you could do one-on-one meetup with people. Like, it was just like, the setup was virtual, but it was just like having a physical event. It had a place for booths where an exhibition where sponsors could go and put in their materials for participants to view. So Deal Room was really cool for us. On the TAWEB program, we use Zoom. It was this because it occurs almost every day of the week, and that's also cool. And the attendees are usually like in 10. The attendees are usually in maybe 30 upwards. So Zoom was really cool to manage for us for the TAWEB program. But the one with the numbers, with the huge numbers, Deal Room was just perfect to host, because we were doing video, people were going live, and then we were recording. And the good thing about Deal Room was that it gave us opportunity to record all the sessions. And so we equally had like content that we have put online. So if you go to African Digital Skills Conference on YouTube, you see all the training sessions that we've had online. And the conference was done both in English and French. And so all this content are on YouTube, that we exported the videos and we put it on YouTube, and it's available for people who want to go and replay it. So that was the advantage of doing it on Deal Room as well. But for the first question, what that means is that if you are having an online event, you need to put in equally more effort. And because sometimes when we share the event and people register and that's it, there is no reminder, you don't send reminder to the people, there's no follow-up, and all we do is we sit down and say we are having an event the next day. Because 3 days to the event, I think 3 days to our African Digital Skills event, we noticed that because we had gotten people to register on, we had gotten people to register on Google Form. And so we had almost about 800 people registering on Google Form. And now we have to move all these people to the Deal Room platform. It was really a lot more work. So when we added everybody onto the Deal Room. The next day, I think about a day or so, where we noticed that only about 100 people were on the platform. So now we have to do a lot more work. We have to send a MailChimp. We have to send maybe text messages to people, say, hey, you registered for this event, it's coming on. These are the schedules for the event, day 1, day 2. It was a 3-day conference. This is the schedule for day 1, day 2. So I think that what I want to emphasize is that when you're doing an online event, it's equally more work if you want people to attend. You need to send reminders, you need to follow up, you need to do more work. Because as soon as you relax, the people are online, they're in their home sipping tea, eating, doing other things, having fun. They easily forget that they registered for your event. So you need to do more to get them to attend your event.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. Sarah.
Yes, I have a question for Florence, obviously not for myself. I just wanted to ask, because you were talking about digital skills for different people who, no matter who they are, I'd wonder, do you do anything specifically for teachers? I mean, either, for COVID, but also just in general, just so that they're kind of just more digitally literate.
So the skills that we've noticed that teachers need, especially during COVID, is like Google Classroom skills, Zoom skills, online, how to do online classes skills. But prior to COVID, we taught teachers, especially the female teachers, how they can understand data visualizations, data based on gender-based violence, and how they can interpret that data and derive meaning from it and use it in their work to be able to identify areas where girls especially need help when it comes to gender-based violence and other forms of violence that happen in their schools. So prior to COVID, that was what we did. But for during COVID, it's mostly about how to get online. What do you need to do? How to use your devices? How do you connect? For some people, it's just simply how to even create Gmail account, like simple skills. So it's been mostly basic skills for teachers, because let's admit it, more people are on social media focused on consuming content and not necessarily translating that into learning skills for themselves and to also improve their skills as well. So that is what we've done.
Thank you.
I'm coming to see you for all these wonderful things you are doing.
Okay, Fred, you have the floor.
I actually don't have a question. I just wanted to comment on and to say it's how great the work that both of you are doing. I know Sarah. I know Sarah from my days at the planetarium. I did some short internships at the planetarium a couple of years ago. So I know her, but and I know they're doing some great work. So it's good to see she's a woman of many talents and doing so many things at a time. And then to Florence as well, it's great to see that you're actually putting a lot of effort into training people and so on and so forth. One question for you, Florence, is how do you deal with bandwidth issues if you have hundreds of people trying to access an online platform and so on? How do you deal with, because we all call Ghana, we call from Ghana and so on, and sometimes you're talking to somebody and there's all this, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Sort of. How do you deal with that?
Florence, we cannot hear you.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I was on mute. And so for us, we knew that we wanted to organize this conference. So we put in a lot of efforts, getting multiple different data sources for us. And for the attendees as well, when they were filling the form, one of the requirements for them is to find out if they have access to good internet connectivity. And if they really want to be part of this, they have to also invest into it as well. And so, and the platform that we used helped us. At least it wasn't based in, the platform wasn't based in Ghana. And so the connectivity issues and everything that is related to the platform, the deal room is virtually outside. And they did a very good job making sure that with the traffic and everything was stable for us, and we had a good conference throughout. But from our parts, during our videos and other things, there were a few times that we had some lapses here and there, especially like we had over 40 trainers on board for the African Digital Schools. All the trainers that presented from outside, it was seamless. There was just one or two people, but the ones that we presented from Africa, you could see that it was a big challenge. It was a challenge for them. But we also made sure that there was a rehearsal. Like everybody that came onto the platform, we had a day to rehearse, or before we give you guidelines that before you come on board, this and this is what you have to do. Your internet must be on point, everything must be on point. But you never know, it always goes wrong. But we make sure that this is highly communicated because it's a priority. If it's online, you have to get everything that you need to be able to get online to deliver your content to the people.
Okay, so I saw a hand from Francis. Francis, can we have your question, please? Francis, can you please unmute for us?
All right, thank you very much. I'll follow up the discussion very well, and then both of you, the presentations is very superb. They have all done great job, and my question has to go to Madam Florence. Based on what she explained earlier, all the focus on the women. So I was like, wow, with the guys, what are they planning on us? As in the projects that they are doing. So looking at the using the mobile web to solve a problem in terms of the meeting, especially in our education in Ghana here, I was also trying to ask, is there any other plans that they will also, they can also use the same digital to solve other problems related to innovation in Ghana here? Because there have been a series of problems in Ghana here in terms of sanitation, in terms of agriculture and other fields, which this we can also engage this in to solve the problems in Ghana here. Have they put such measures across which they can also use to solve? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Florence, can you please unmute?
Yes. So for your question, we train both men and women as well. Sometimes I lean towards training, like empowering women as part of my passion as well. But it has been both. As some of you would know that when we started, we were going around all the universities, we recruited people. We have great startups that have come out of mobile web, kind of like Farmerline, for instance, which is an agri-tech organization based in Accra and has branches across Africa as well. And other tech startups, other people. So we've been focused on training both men and women. So please, you are welcome to join our training program. Even for the TAWE program that I mentioned that we train, it's technology for women empowerment program. It's an online program. We don't sack men when they come to the program. We invite everybody. You could see men also enjoying listening, building their skill sets when it comes to work readiness, when it comes to leadership. It's an open program. So please, if there, and then there's STEM program where we teach about coding, we teach about, this month we are focusing on engineering, where we do different thematic areas on engineering. Please, it's also open to men as well, so please kindly join. And you mentioned if there is an opportunity to use tech to solve different sets of problems in Ghana. Of course, yes. As I mentioned in my earlier submission, I said, even if you are a pure water seller, even if you're a shoemaker, and you even use WhatsApp to communicate with your prospective clients, you shine the shoe, or you are selling shoe, you take a picture and you send it to people and say, hey, look, this is my work. If you need more, or you are a dressmaker, you take a picture, you say, this is my work, this is my draft, you send it to people. You'll be amazed how many businesses you can get out of that. And when it comes to sanitation, even Mobile Web Ghana, we work with Lama at a point on a project called Clean Street Africa. What we did is we developed an app where people could take pictures of garbage or rubbish on the streets and then send it to the platform, and the assembly could deploy people to come and collect it. So it was one of the ways that we were trying to solve sanitation problems. It was a pilot project. And so there are different ways. That's, as I mentioned, like when tech meets the people at their doorsteps, what that means is that connect to them. When we, the people who know tech, and the solution is not in our hands. The solution is in the hands of the people who need the problems to be solved. So when you go to them, you ask them, what is the problem? How do you do your work? How do you collect your rubbish? Is it that you heap it and you call Zoom Lion, or Zoom Lion has days that they can collect your rubbish? What if Zoom Lion doesn't come on that day or misses? Does Zoom Lion communicate to you? Is there a way to establish communication via tech from you to Zoom Lion through the assemblies? Is there a way to create that that communication channel for you, so that if I have a rubbish in my house and it's full and I can't get them to come, is there a way I can just use an app, or I can just use something to communicate? So what sometimes we think that technology is unless you do the big thing, sometimes just the smallest thing, or even setting up a WhatsApp group, or even just setting up a community group or something. Sometimes just the smallest thing that makes a big difference. So I want to encourage you that, look, if you have a passion to solve problems, don't look far. Now, you can't say that I don't know this, I don't know this. Technology has leveled the playing field. Get to YouTube, learn some few skills, start deploying it, just one community member at a time. I think that most of the times we want to do the big thing and say, no. Let's just start small. Let's even start from our home. Let's even start from our schools. Let's start from just one person at a time. And I'm sure that we'll be able to do something. Thank you.
I think we're running out of time, but I see that Camilios and Paul's have raised their hands. Can we just have your questions? And I have one question. I think my question will be the last question, and then we can and then we can move from there. Okay, can we have your question, Camilios?
Oh, okay. I thought Paul was the hand first. So, anyways, so I came here a bit late, so I came to hear more of Sarah's presentation, but I think Florence also did well by the conclusion. So I just have three questions. Actually, not three, though, two. So upon seeing your presentation, I was wondering what's the difference between astrology and astronomy. So I Googled it, and interestingly, I found out that astrology is more of the belief that things that happen on Earth are affected by what happens in space. So I wanted to ask: is there an overlap between the two, like that, an overlap between astronomy and astrology? And also, you talk about the fact that we shouldn't volunteer if you want to get something back, right? But my point is it possible to not want something back? For instance, wanting to know how to work in a planetarium is also something that can motivate me to want to volunteer, right? So I think it will be very difficult to volunteer without having any return at all in my mind. But if you are specific that you still have, money or something, I may want to get it, but I just want to get that part right, because like I do a lot of volunteer work, but then definitely it's for a reason why I'm doing that. Okay. And the last one, I saw that the second to last slide that you have, I saw you on Mars with Perseverance. So I wanted to ask what's the temperature over there, so I can go.
Sorry, that last one, I didn't actually hear your question. I just because I started laughing. When you said you saw me on Mars, then what did you say?
Yeah, so I wanted to know that the temperature over there, so I can the right clothing and go there.
It's cold. It's cold.
Okay. Good,
okay,
good.
sort of going backwards. About the volunteering. Yeah, yes. What I meant was, you should be volunteering because you have an interest in that place or that organization. I mean, yes, you will get something out of it, the experience, but what I meant was, you shouldn't be going only because you think it'll look good on your CV, or only because, oh, I've heard that guy, if he likes you, he'll give you he'll write you a reference letter for a scholarship. You need to want to do it, because sometimes, like I was saying, the things that they want you to do are not always going to be very exciting. So you need to have the headset of, I've come because I want to help the planetarium or this school or whatever it is you're doing, because that then means that you understand that the particular task you're doing might not be very interesting, but it's helping that organization. So yes, you will get something out of it, but you shouldn't be doing it only for that very kind of I suppose selfish reasons in a way. I mean, there is no say. I mean, you can. I mean, I personally don't want people like that, because then it tends to mean that they're not committed and they don't turn up half the time, and that's why, because they're not really interested. They're doing it for one particular reason. So normally I find I can't rely on those people. And sometimes we have people like that. They come along and they're just not doing anything. So yes. And then the other one, astronomy, astrology. I suppose originally people were both. There was an overlap between astrology and astronomy. I mean, they're both to do with observation of the planets and the sun and the moon. But then astrology is then inferring something from that. Oh, because the sun is in this position or the planet is in this position, we think it means something, something, something. So originally they were kind of intertwined. Now they are considered very different. And certainly most scientists would say astrology is not a science. It's like a pseudoscience, they'd call it. Having said that, in some cultures, it's still very important. In Asia, in India, it's still very, very important. So, yeah. I mean, I don't feel it's a science either, but I'm a bit, I don't like to just dismiss it, because I appreciate that in some people's cultures, they still find it very important. But I will say it, I don't believe it's a science, but it can still be important in your culture.
Great. So that was a good answer. Okay. Because I have a lot of friends who still believe in those things and they use it as a calendar, so I decided to ask.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Okay. We have the next question from Paul and Gamali. Gamali, have a question. How about we put it on the Global Lab Ghana Community Facebook page? And then we can just wrap it up. Paul, can we have your question now? Hello, Paul. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. My question is actually targeted to Florence. I just want to find out what is the way forward when it comes to the digital skill, specifically in the perspective of the maybe smallholder farmers and then youth farmers as well. What is the way forward? And then also, now we are having a lot of, I mean, every young person is now saying is a digital marketer, is a digital this and this and this. What is the way forward? How do we differentiate between some of those things? Thank you.
So two questions for me quickly. For a smallholder farmer, I think that especially even for SMEs as well, like using data to make informed decisions has been very critical. So for instance, you've been growing a specific crop for a very long time. You don't have data, the type, markets, just those small things like using simple applications on the phone, teaching smallholder farmers to be able to use simple applications on the phone to be able to do that. Because see, now data is key. When you go to another realm, they'll talk about AI, they'll talk about all those things. But even for our own lives or for our own companies, organizations, our ability to be able to track what happens and using that, making insights, analyzing that, making meaning out of that will really help a lot to move from one step to the other. And also when it comes to the how do you call it, the springing up of digital marketers. Of course, it's a new era. It's just like those days when you used to have space to space, and even people selling pure water and tied in a rubber. Once, especially in Ghana, when something comes, everybody wants to do it. It's the same thing. Every space to space was almost everywhere. The next two joints, you could see space to space. And I think that, look, the market will on its own try to fish out the good, the bad, and the ugly, and do its own elimination. And for me, I think that it's an era. It's just like the internet bubble. At a point, it will just burst, and the good ones would stay. But for me, I'm equally happy as well, because you see now at least people are learning skills, whether they are learning skills, posing as one, or trying to do it, but they are not getting it. It's also a different dimension of trying to get somewhere. And so, but I believe that if you are an SME and if you are someone who also wants to get the best, there are techniques or strategies you can use to be able to get the best and to see who fits into what, especially what you do. Yes, so that is what I want to add.
Okay. Paul, I hope your question was you got an answer for your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I agree with Florence. I mean, the way forward, and she said it earlier in her presentation, it has to do with the value that the intervention that's been introduced has to offer. And even as an individual, when there seems to be so much competition, or everybody is wearing the same hat and the whole landscape seems to be very choked, the most important thing is technology is more or less like a tool. So how does that integrate with an area where you are more specialized in? I mean, as an individual, based on your unique experiences, you've had a range of skills, you have a range of competencies that makes you unique from other people. So you need to play to your strengths to be successful. And I'm sure there's always a point of innovation, when you are looking for it and when you are versatile enough. I think the final thing is just kind of learning to stay ahead of the game in terms of the new tools, the new technologies that are coming. I mean, you don't have to use AI or IoT always, but you need to understand what is coming, because maybe for a particular purpose, you might need it. It doesn't mean that the old tools that most people rely on are immediately not relevant anymore. So I think that kind of mindset, like Florence is saying, and I mean, that's how I interpret this type of thing to still be relevant no matter what happens.
But Gamal, even for me, like I am an advocate for, look, let's be simple, let's get it real, let's just do it, and let's do it in a way that people understand or that make meaning, especially for smallholder farmers. You also don't want to introduce any complicated thing. Sometimes just explaining to them, look, this is how you do it. You're a trader. You go to the market, you have X tomatoes, you've sold X, you are going to buy another one. What are the processes you need to go through? What do you need? What do you have data? Do you have information on this? And already they are doing that in their own ways, except that they are not integrating any tool or tracking the data to be able to evaluate whether they are making profits or loss, or whether they are actually even in business in the first place. And so that's what I would just for, especially for the informal sector, tools that are extremely simple for them to understand, and also study their work processes, how they are already doing things, and trying to just do the same thing, but adding the simplest tool that they can use.
Okay, thank you very much, Florence, for explaining that. So I have a question, and I'm hoping that we can wrap up in the next 5 minutes. My question is that what are some unexplored STEM career paths in Ghana, and what are some ways in which you can hone your skills to start a career in a STEM field? Seeing that Florence, particularly, I was reading your bio and I realized that you did psychology in as a first degree. So how can you make that switch from a social science field or a humanities field into a STEM related field, seeing that the future is now STEM?
Um, it's a wonderful question. It's a question I always love. Sometimes we need to be open-minded. We need to also know what is happening around our environment. I did psychology and sociology, but of course it was an era where Yahoo was the thing. People were creating emails. I also created Toffa 200 at yahoo.com. Everybody, like those days in the year 2000, or I think 1999 or so, just when I finished senior high school. And then I went to computer school after senior high school shortly, and those were the time we were doing DOS and all those things on Word, and we were excited. But when I finished uni and I was working at the Department of Biostatistics at the University of Ghana School of Public Health. It's then that I noticed I was using email, like those days when I was just going to buy physical stamp and posting it, right? And so I was using email, people were responding, it was fast. Communication has changed from just posting letters to just having instant responses to emails. I thought that this is really cool. What's making the computer do this? Of course, so what that means is that, look, be curious. I wanted to be a banker. I didn't get the opportunity to be a banker. I wanted to do psychology. When I was in school, I thought I wanted to be an industrial psychologist. And so whatever life presents to you, be curious, be open-minded, look at what is happening around you, and just switch. But even with tech, like, you don't really have even an option to say that, look, I will not learn anything about tech. Kids have been forced to use devices to learn. People have been forced to work from home, connect, and do so. So right now, as it is right now, it's not like you have that many options to say that I will not do it. So when I got the opportunity to go to Multiple Entrepreneurial School of Technology, I saw the flyer. I said, hey, this is it. I'm really going to understand how this whole computer system works. Sending emails alone and getting responses was like the thing I want to learn. So to learn software engineering and entrepreneurship. So I went. So immediately I resigned from my job. I was employed at uni, and I said, look, this is changing how things are being done currently. So I want to understand the dynamics of how this is done. So that's why that's how come I've entered into tech. I could have sat down to say that. I could have been unconcerned and say that, look, this is it. Look, people are working online. I don't care. People are doing this. It doesn't care. But you see, if you're a young person listening to me, you should care about what is happening, because it is what is going to change your life. And that's how come I entered into tech. And that's how come you can also start a career in STEM as well. So now, like I mentioned, look, there is information overload. Almost everything you want to learn on this planet is online. You have no excuse. Go to YouTube, Google it, your interest is there, everything. Free content, Coursera, Allison, University of People, everything that you want to learn, please. Start, and if you are starting, start now, because it will help you. And I'm very glad that I chose that path. I left and I studied STEM. It has really changed my life. I'm now able to help my children to do online learning. How would I, in this pandemic, if I didn't know anything about tech as a mom, especially even the women? I'm focused on the women because, look, there is direct correlation how you can help your children as well to also learn STEM. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to ask my question. I know Eva doesn't want to give me the opportunity, but I'm going to ask. My question is for all of us, but especially for Sarah. It has to do with changing public mindsets when it comes to science and technology. You know, if we use COVID as a case study or climate change as a case study, you know, we have very clear instances whereby science has been able to show us that, okay, this is how X works, you know, or this is the problem. But it looks like it's a challenge getting people to accept that and to use that. So, especially in Ghana, what is it that we must do in order to really change mindset as far as a public understanding of science and its application in our society is concerned?
Wow. Well, I think if I could answer that, I'd probably win a Nobel Prize or something. But that is a great question. I mean, it's the $100 million question, isn't it? There's well, it's difficult. I think. I mean, I think part of it, or I feel like part of it in Ghana is that there is you hear very little. You still hear very little about science. So I think it needs to be like a general popularization of science. So, and it's all very well to have, like a science program. But I think you need, but then who is going to listen to that science program? Only the people who are already interested in science. So it needs to be, integrated into everything. I mean, these things are affecting everybody. They should be in all the programs, in all the science programs. So it needs to be, I think, a wider, making everything more popular so that everyone gets to hear about it. And also that means they're hearing it from people, maybe, people they already know and are familiar with and trust. So they can, oh yeah, that guy that I always listen to every Wednesday. Oh, today he's talking about climate change, or today he's talking about COVID or something that, maybe then they're more likely to listen. But it's a big issue. It is a big issue. But I do think there is a big problem here of that you just never hear very little science news, or astronomy. That's just like, that whole Perseverance rover thing that, our little astronomy group, we're all going crazy over. I don't even know if there was anything in Ghana news about the fact that a rover had landed on Mars. So it's yeah, we need more science journalism, and then also for the science, I think, to be more widespread and I said in the more popular media of all types. So it's just a normal everyday thing that people hear about and learn about along with everything else, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you, Florence, for joining us. I think the discussion was everybody was very into the conversation, and seeing that it's 1 hour and almost 30 minutes, I'm glad everybody made it a point to join us, and I hope that the conversation can continue on the Global Lab community platform on Facebook and on Twitter. Thank you all so much. Gamali, do you have any closing remarks?
Oh, okay. So, I mean, normally we take a group picture. So you can take the group picture now. I made sure I made some shots when we're having a session, but the people left, we can take our group picture. Can we please stop the recording so that